Welcome back, folks. Greg Silverman here for CIOs and Bowties, joined by the venerable, value-orientated stock picker, David Crook.
Yeah.
Extending the Japanese theme, right? So we're speaking about two subjects that cropped up. One is Japan, recently made famous by Warren Buffett, making a large investment there. And the other one is cryptocurrencies, which we'll still get to. I did want to pick up a little bit on the Japanese theme for a second, Dave. Japan has had its bull market end, I think, in 1989, right? The 80s were the Japanese decade. And it's really been I don't know about forgotten, but the Nikkei hasn't gone anywhere significant since then. I'm not even sure if it's even made it back to the old highs, despite huge amounts of monetary printing. So there's no question Japan has been through a deflationary cycle, now bordering on 30 years. And they've got a very old demographic, very old population. But it seems to me that, is this another false start, or is this really Japan making emergence out of deflation? You mentioned Asia. Asia would be very inflationary for Japan if growth really got going there. You mentioned the new is it a prime minister or president? I think
Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's kind of, let's say, he's driving what's called digital transformation, a wholesale revamping of Japan's paper-heavy and inefficient public sector, which, as you know, the post office is absolutely massive in Japan. So any kind of, let's say, getting rid of, modernizing that system would unleash a lot of growth and a lot of efficiency. And so that may very well be a way to kind of grow out of a deflationary cycle. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Well, Greg, we've seen that globally, haven't we? I mean, so much of productivity increase since the early 2000s has been based on technology improvements and technological improvements. And if they can do that in Japan, make their bureaucracy, which is a large bureaucracy, as you alluded to, more efficient, that indeed will help the economy at large. I have no doubt about that. Yeah.
One other point I want to make, and then we'll flip over to maybe a more interesting subject of cryptos is I remember kind of the well-worn saw was that Japan was a net exporter. And so that anything that weakened the yen was actually good for the large Japanese conglomerates and good for the Nikkei as a result. I'm thinking about Mitsubishi. I don't know, Mitsubishi's Korean. I'm not sure. Is it Japanese or Korean?
No, Japanese,
right. As an example, they're a behemoth. So and as a result, just by the way, the yen actually became very much a go-to safety trade for years and years. It was very well correlated with gold. Now, all of a sudden, I've noticed a slight difference. Again, I don't want to take it out of context if it's a larger trend, but the yen is now weakening. The yen is now strengthening, and the Nikkei is strengthening alongside with it. So definitely a change in trend. I really can't make head or tail of it, or much sense of it. I don't know if it's going to last, but something I think worthwhile watching.
Yeah, but I think that might be more macro, Greg. That might be certainly that. We're seeing it once again from major central banks globally. Everyone's chasing their currencies lower to the tune of aiding their export markets. You're absolutely right about that. Everybody's trying their damnedest to do that. However, with the dollar falling out of favor, that hurts some people, and the Japanese are one of those at the moment in regards to it. However, I think from a broader macro picture and from an opportunity picture, and looking at a relative sense of where is there more upside now in the months and years ahead, perhaps it is Japan, and people are looking for yen investments based on that. And then, of course, if you invest in the dollar now and you feel it's going lower, and the yen does strengthen after your investment, not only are you hopefully doing well in your actual Japanese investment, but your currency side of the investment should aid you and abet you as well.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
That's right. That reminds me, just just switching topics a second. I remember another article people like. It's a little bit old now, but it talked about what is the best investment for a weakening dollar, and the highest R squared, the highest correlation that was achieved, regression analysis that was achieved, was actually international stocks. So that makes sense, right? It wasn't gold. It wasn't selling the dollar short. It was international stocks. Okay. let's move on to, again, also the anti-dollar, if you will. We'll introduce the topic and then we'll break for another quick session, intermission. Cryptocurrencies. The article was around Paul Tudor Jones, a very famous hedge fund manager. I think he was around the time of George Soros. I think he made his claim around that time. He likes Bitcoin now even more. He says the rally's still in the first innings. I'll give you one comment from the article, and then you can take it away a little bit. But he says the reason I recommended Bitcoin, and I believe he's got 2% of his fund, which amounts to hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin. The reason I recommended Bitcoin is because it is one of the menu of inflation trades, like gold, like tips, break-evens, like copper, like being long yield curve. And I came to the conclusion that Bitcoin was going to be the best inflation trade, Jones said. What do you think?
So I'm one of those people that do feel we'll have some inflation in play. And with that being said, I do think that that cryptos are a means to go. I really believe the big driver, though, is the growth of that marketplace. And we only have to look around today and see how many entities take, in some form or another, crypto as payment. You know that is expanding exponentially on an annual basis. Huge move towards the end of last year, which is now in play, was when PayPal said they would accept cryptocurrencies on their platform, and you can settle via PayPal. Therefore, you can settle via cryptocurrency. Globally, there's just nothing preventing you from doing that. That's one huge benefit of crypto right now. The other one is something that we've already spoken about in part one, I believe, and I'm going to repeat it. So please be patient with me, folks. And that is that, since the Second World War, prior to that, it was the United Kingdom's sterling, the pound, that was the currency, the global currency of note. But it's been the dollar, and it still is the dollar. However, there are many entities, countries, corporations out globally that are looking to weaken to stop their reliance on the US dollar in terms of global settlements and the like. And we now have a whole gamut of cryptocurrencies and crypto platforms by which we can move around the dollar and trade dollars. And we know that people are fed up with the dollar. Just have a look. We know that the Chinese and the Russians have done big barter deals with regard to oil exports from Russia and goods and goods coming in from China on a barter basis. And there are many instances of that globally. The fact that the Trump administration have used the dollar's power to help their sanctions drive against the Iranians. By the way, I support that drive, just for the record. But they've used the dollar to help them with that, with regard to the SWIFT settlement system, and them saying if you participate in that, then you cannot help the Iranians, you can't trade with the Iranians. There are all sorts of sense where dollar bullying has been seen to be the theme around. So people are looking for other means and ways of settling, paying, trading globally. And I really believe that that crypto is what the future delves. There are also crypto platforms. So Ethereum, for example, so it is a cryptocurrency, but it also is a platform in and of itself, which allows for digital contracts. And there are just many avenues in the new world that are available to this. And then lastly, Greg, and I will let you talk at some point in time as I go on and on and on.
That's all right.
And lastly, Greg, please be aware, everybody, that governments globally are looking at the cryptocurrency market very, very closely and looking to create their own. The Chinese government have already done so. We know the Venezuelans have done so for obvious reasons. The Zimbabweans did so for obvious reasons a good number of months ago now. So don't expect cryptocurrencies to go away.
Okay, indeed. Let's take one more break and come back, and we'll get back to the cryptos as a protection against inflation, if I will. And I think the saying, I think you said means and ways. I think the saying is actually ways and means, but
it definitely is ways and means. There's no
anyway.
Just
let's
keeping
take
everyone
a short
on their
break.
toes.
Yeah, keep us on our toes. That's all we like. We'll be right back.